Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1789B, and today's date is February 12th, 2019, and the title of the episode is HRC Firewall Removed, Protection Gone, 321, Boom. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about all the threats that we are seeing today in America, especially with the new caravan amassing in Central America, headed up to the border. Remember, your safety is the number one concern. One of the best things you can invest in for your home protection is a Patriot flashlight kit. It's called the Night Protector. The Night Protector lights up the darkest of nights with its powerful 1200 lumens that can be seen miles away. Say goodbye to all those batteries. This has a rechargeable lithium battery that comes with it. To get the Night Protector, go to patriotkit.com. Use code X20 and get 20% off the Night Protector. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, Q has been dropping a lot of bread, and Q has been letting us know that all protections, the firewall that was protecting HRC is now gone. There were certain pieces to the puzzle that needed to be put into place, and we're starting to see that each piece is being put into place, other pieces are being removed, and this had to be done to move forward with prosecution, and we'll be getting into that in just a minute. But first, let's start off with some good news here, and it looks like Devin Nunes is out there. He was giving an interview, and he's saying that, listen, there is no Russian collusion whatsoever. They haven't found anything. They're starting to put all these documents together, and nothing has been found. Actually, the Senate Intel Committee confirms there is absolutely no collusion whatsoever. Now, this is not the Mueller report. This is the Senate. This is the House. They were looking and investigating into Russian collusion. They couldn't find anything. Now, this is going to be beneficial for Trump. And you're probably saying, why is this beneficial? Well, one, it's beneficial because there's no collusion. Two, think about what the deep state has done. They have gone in all different directions. They looked at his business dealings. They looked everywhere, and they couldn't find anything for 2 years. Trump is the most vetted president ever. They used a fine-tooth comb to go through everything that he has, and they couldn't find anything. I wonder how the other government officials could stand up to what has happened to Trump. And this is why Trump, the Patriots, are going to turn this all around and say, listen, I've been vetted for 2 years. They looked at all my business dealings. They looked through my taxes. They looked through all my records. They even stormed my lawyer's office, and you found absolutely nothing. Now it's your turn. You have to be vetted like I was vetted. And let's see how it turns out. And I believe they're headed down that path. Now it looks like the number one thing on Pelosi's to-do list is gun control. H.R. 8, the House Universal Background Bill, is expected to receive a vote in the House Judiciary Committee on February 13th, 2019, and then be sent to the House floor for a full vote. Now, you have to remember, the House will vote on these bills, but again, the Senate was the key. The Senate meant everything. The Senate is the firewall. Everything that the deep state tries to do and tries to get through will always be blocked. Now, this gun control scheme would have the government snooping in all private firearm transactions, thereby building a quasi-gun registration scheme under the Brady Law, which was passed in 1993. In other words, nearly all firearms purchased made in the United States would have to go through the Brady NICS registration system. H.R. 8 requires that loans, gifts, and firearm sales be processed at a gun store. The same bureaucratic hoops, fees, paperwork, and record keeping apply to the purchase of new guns at stores as well. If an individual skips going to the gun store when loaning out a gun to a friend, they can still be subject to the same penalty as someone who knowingly sells a gun to a convicted felon. That being said, H.R. 8 will have a hard time making its way to the Republican-controlled Senate. The Senate was the key. The Senate is the firewall. And you can see how the Senate is coming in handy. Let's get into some of Q's posts. Here's Q's post 2691. This is February 11th. And Q starts off with, if, and this is in brackets bold, Adam Schiff has seen evidence of collusion and or POTUS Russia illegal activities, as he stated in the past many times across all de-armed media networks, why then is there a need to open a new investigation? Well, we know why. To create a new firewall. To keep this type of news in the mainstream media and use it if Trump attacks these people. They'll refer to the investigation saying he's attacking us because we're investigating. What about the so-called evidence already seen? There is no evidence. How is Adam Schiff making open statements, R.E. Mueller not investigating POTUS Deutsche Bank, thorough enough if the Mueller investigation itself is classified? How does Adam Schiff know what Mueller hasn't investigated? Leaks through back channels. Maybe Weissman has been feeding him information. Fake news designed to keep the fake narrative in play. This is in brackets and bold, cover, all caps. You are witnessing the greatest disinformation campaign to ever be pushed by a political party. Ask yourself, why? Fear of what? D-class. The message must be direct. The war is very real. Q. So number one, Mueller's investigation is winding down. Schiff and others are receiving leaked information from the Mueller investigation. Mueller has found nothing. So they needed to take action. Move investigations to House, set up firewall, protect those who are corrupt. If Trump attacks, turn it around and say the attacks are because of the investigations. This is their insurance policy. Fake news is designed to keep the fake narrative in play. This is their cover. Schiff doesn't know it yet, but he's being monitored right now. And we'll get into that in just a minute. Post 2692. Q put up post 1316. And this says, focus only on the FBI for now. Jim Rubicki, James Baker, Andrew McCabe, and these people have been fired. James Comey fired, Bill Priestap, goes down the list. Then Q gave us an updated list in that same post. Q, once again, has updated the list once again, has also given us flowcharts of how the FBI chain of command works, and the link Q gave us is from Judicial Watch. And it reads, Judicial Watch FBI General Counsel talked to Hillary Clinton's lawyers about Comey's letter on Wiener laptop Clinton emails. Judicial Watch announced today it received 215 pages of records from the U.S. Department of Justice revealing former FBI General Counsel James Baker discussed the investigation of Clinton-related emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop with Clinton's lawyer, David Kendall. Baker then forwarded the conversation to his FBI colleagues. The documents also further describe a previously reported quid pro quo from the Obama State Department offering the FBI more legal attaché positions if it would downgrade a redaction in an email found during the Hillary Clinton email investigation from classified to something else. In summary, former FBI Chief Counsel James Baker gave heads up to many people in the FBI. So let's continue with Q. Baker's heads up on the Kendall call was sent to then Director James Comey, since fired, then Associate Deputy Director David Bowdwich, who later replaced Andrew McCabe as Deputy Director, Michael Steinbach, the FBI's former Executive Assistant Director for National Security, then Assistant Director of Counterintelligence E.W. Priestap, now retired, James Rubicki, former Chief of Staff to Comey, FBI Intelligence Analyst Jonathan Maffa, former Acting Assistant Director Jason V. Herring, Michael Cortan, FBI Assistant Director for Public Affairs, now retired, former Principal Deputy General Counsel Tricia Anderson, Strzok and Page. Does this list above look familiar? These are all the players. A lot of these people are now gone. Reed drops FBI mid-year OIG and review graphics. So you can see that these are the same exact players, and they were given a heads up. Let's move on to post 2693. Q gave us a link. This is a tweet by Adam Schiff, and he tweeted out to explain what is happening with the wall. Now, this is a complete fictional story, but he's trying to tell everyone what's really going on. And this is what he wrote. Step 1, hype an invented threat of an invasion of terrorist murderers and rapists. Step 2, send troops to border to address the imaginary threat. Step 3, justify the wall as necessary to protect troops sent to meet the non-existent threat. Step 4, executive time. Now, if this is made up and there's no caravan coming and it's a fake emergency, why did Elijah Cummings say the following? He said, the U.S. must let the caravan migrants enter. That's the law. So he's telling us that there's a caravan coming and we should just let them enter the U.S. So there is a caravan coming. So right there and then, Adam Schiff lied. But these people just don't come over the border. Yes, if the caravan is coming, go to the port of entry. Get vetted, because we need to make sure that you're not a gang member, you're not a drug trafficker, you haven't committed crimes, you're not human trafficking, you're not gun running. And once you're vetted, you can come right into this country. Not a big deal. You're not just going to hop the border and say, oh, I'm seeking asylum. You'll go through the proper channels. So Q says the following. He took what Schiff wrote and said, let's actually use facts. Step 1, hype an invented threat of POTUS working with the Russians, disinformation campaign. Step 2, send FBI, Department of Justice, Congress, Senate, CIA, NSA, Intel, 5i, etc. to address and investigate the imaginary threat. Step 3, justify the special counsel and millions of taxpayer dollars spent as necessary to protect the public and our election process against an imaginary, made-up, non-existent threat, which really is designed to protect the illegal activities of many elected officials. Step 4, open new fake and false investigations as chairman of the House Intel Commission to retain disinformation campaign designed to keep liberal D-Americans on board to regain power and prevent prosecution. Executive time. Q. Boom. Q just trolled Schiff. Let's move on to post 2694. Q put up everything from post 2693 and said the following. Life lesson. Brackets bold Adam Schiff. The next time you leak classified information, don't have your phone or allow phones of the unknown go between students. Present. Pfizer works both ways. So we know that Adam Schiff is an admitted leaker. Remember, he came out and said, listen, I didn't leak. It's called an exposure. Now, he just changed the wording around to make it seem like he didn't leak anything. But he's notorious for leaking. So Adam Schiff is a leaker. Q is letting us know that the same way the Obama administration used Pfizer to spy on him, Pfizer is being used to spy on the traitor. And that is Adam Schiff. And Q is letting us know that Pfizer works both ways. So it looks like Q is telling us that they might have a Pfizer warrant on the traitor Adam Schiff, and they're monitoring his phone. Very interesting. We also understand that John Solomon reported that Adam Schiff met with Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS, and Mark Meadows puts 2 and 2 together and tweets the following. With the report of Adam Schiff meeting with Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson last year, we now have more evidence of Schiff directly contacting people trying to interfere in our election than we ever did on candidate Trump. Double standard, the collusion investigation is a sham, and it puts Adam Schiff's timeline of everything out of whack once this information came in. Let's move on to post 2695. And Anon put up a picture of a woman holding a white cloth with the letter Q on there, and it says, where we go on, we go all. And this is during the rallies, and it says, not a t-shirt. She laid a square cloth with the Q on it when POTUS came by. Perfect idea when they don't allow Q shirts in. Q put up a link to twitter.com, and this is J Vineyard 2011. And this shows Trump recognizing the woman with the cloth. And Q wrote down below, POTUS, did they get the clip? Yes, Mr. President. POTUS, did they catch all the references? Yes, Mr. President. POTUS, show me. Thank you, Mr. John Vineyard. Thank you, Annans. Return publicly, Q. Just another confirmation to let everyone know Trump is on board. Post 2696, and Annan put up, here to the end, sir. And Q said, you will never be alone. We are united. Godspeed, Patriot. Now, an Annan, during the rally, decided to write down all different type of Q proofs. So let's go through what this Annan wrote down. And he wrote, quick notes I made during rally about Q proofs. And he starts off, it's time. Confirm the shutdown was to show the voters how the Dems feel about the wall. Lock her up chant answered with, that's starting to make a lot of sense. The world is watching. DOG reference. Setting the stage. Phase 3. I chose you. We chose you. 1888 economy. Pre-Fed. 188 crumb. Come and take it. Q signal while saying we saved our country. Q shirt acknowledgement. So right there and then you can see that there were a lot of Q proofs during this rally. Let's move on to post 2697. Q gave us a link to Fox News. This is FBI scrambled to respond to Hillary Clinton lawyer amid Wiener laptop review, newly released emails show. And let me read a little portion of this. Newly released internal FBI emails show that the agency's highest-ranking officials scrambling to answer to Hillary Clinton's lawyers in the days prior to the 2016 presidential election. On the same day, then FBI Director James Comey sent a bombshell letter to Congress announcing a new review of hundreds of thousands of potentially classified emails found on former Representative Anthony Weiner's laptop. The trove of documents turned over by the FBI in response to a lawsuit by the transparency group Judicial Watch also included discussions by former FBI lawyer Lisa Page concerning a potential quid pro quo between the State Department and the FBI, in which the FBI would agree to downgrade the classification level of Clinton email in exchange for more legal attaché positions that would benefit the agency abroad. There was no indication such a quid pro quo ever took place. And in the face of mounting criticism aimed at the FBI, the documents reveal that Comey quoted the 19th century poet Ralph Waldo Emerson by assuring his subordinates, to be great is to be misunderstood. So Q says, shall we play a game? Where are they now? Reference, Public Optics, retired, left, refers to fired, forced. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. James Comey, fired. Andrew McCabe, fired. Jim Rybicki, fired. James Baker, General Counsel, fired. Bill Priestap, fired. That was Strzok's boss. Peter Strzok, fired. Lisa Page, fired. Michael Cortan, fired. Josh Campbell, fired. Michael Steinbach, fired. John Glackleone, fired. James Turgle, fired. Greg Bauer, fired. Tricia Anderson, fired. Randy Coleman, removed. And Coleman authored the following: a review of various actions by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Justice in advance of the 2016 election. Q is pointing us to a specific section in this document. Number 1, Anthony Weiner, sick, in brackets. Number 2, brackets, unrelated. Number 3, Weiner, in brackets again, sick, texting 15-year-old sexually explicit, 926 Federal SW, iPhone, iPad, laptop. Initial analysis of laptop, thousands of emails. Hillary Clinton and Foundation, crime against children. Kevin Kleinsmith, track and follow. Tashina Guar, track and follow. Sally Moyer, track and follow. Jason V. Herring, track and follow. Nothing being done, fake news. So basically, all of this was on Weiner's laptop. So when the Inspector General initially interviewed the deep state players, Comey, James Baker, and others in the FBI, they all couldn't remember a thing about Anthony Weiner's laptop. If we go back to post 2369, we know James Baker testified in front of the House. So let's go to post 2369. And Q says Baker testimony with 3 arrows to the House. What was learned? In brackets, D. So they must have learned quite a bit, because now Q is letting us know everything that they've learned. Post 2698. Q puts up everything from 2697, gives us a link to Fucked Up Mike, and it says, this should be retweeted everywhere. The scope of the Hillary Clinton email investigation was so private. The OIG didn't have the security clearance needed to view the emails, and the emails couldn't be given to Congress. Just wow. So let's take a listen to this.
In a secure format, the classified emails.
What I can, to a certain extent, I cannot provide a certain segment of them because the agency that owns the information for those emails has limited the distribution on those. So they're characterizing them as ORCON.
Explain what ORCON is.
Originator control. So I can't give them to even Congress without getting the agency's permission to provide them. So they have been provided.
Which agency?
I can't say that here in an open hearing, sir.
So you can't even tell me which agency won't allow us as members of Congress to see something that Hillary Clinton allowed somebody without a security clearance in a non-protected format to see. That's correct?
Yeah, this is the segment of emails that this is why my letter back to Ranking Member Cummings had to be classified, because people would like to see this segment of emails. And this has been an issue not just with you and your committee, but with several members at this point. So we have gone back to the agency that is involved several times, and we can certainly do that again and ask permission.
Can you generally tell me, is it because they're so sensitive about signals intelligence, humans intelligence? What?
We shouldn't get into the content of these emails in an open hearing, but I'd be happy to tell you.
I don't want to violate that, but the concern is that it has already been violated, and it was violated by Hillary Clinton. And it was her choice. She set it up, and she created this problem, and she created this mess. We shouldn't have to go through this, but she did that.
This is the segment of emails that I had to have people in my office read in to particular programs to even see these emails. We didn't possess the required clearances and compartments.
So even the Inspector General for OD&I didn't have the requisite security clearances.
That's correct.
So let's continue with Q. Q says, and this is in brackets all bold, controlled by those who work for the Clintons. They have zero control now. Q. Clinton's firewall is completely dismantled. Those individuals she controlled are no longer in control, and they cannot protect her. Q, Trump, the Patriots, they're taking the deep state apart one piece at a time. We have one shot with this, and everything needs to be in place before the prosecution. So right now, all these individuals that Q mentioned, McCabe, Comey, Priestap, Strzok, they're all gone. That was her protection. You see why everything had to go in this way? This is all part of the plan. They're making sure that there's no way out of this. And you need to remove all of these people. You need to put certain things in place before you can move forward. Let's move on to post 2699. Q gave us a link to Maxine Waters' financial records. And we know that Maxine is corrupt. Q has mentioned this many, many times before. And Q says, what does a dog do when he or she has a bone? You are the news now. First of all, let's start off with Maxine Waters. Among her most corrupt acts of federal legislator is steering millions of federal bailout dollars to her husband's failing bank, One United. Waters allocated $12 million to the Massachusetts bank in which she and her board member's husband held shares. One United ended up stiffing American taxpayers and will probably never repay the bailout money. Judicial Watch investigated the scandal and obtained documents from the U.S. Treasury related to the controversial bailout. The famously remiss House Ethics Committee, which is charged with investigating and punishing corrupt lawmakers like Waters, found that she committed no wrongdoing. The panel bought Waters' absurd story that she allocated the money as part of her long-time work to promote opportunity for minority-owned businesses and lending in undeserved communities, even though her husband's bank was located thousands of miles away from the South Los Angeles neighborhoods she represents in Congress. So an Anand put it this way: Maxine is a dog. She's protecting her masters. She buries the bones in the backyard. Q is suggesting we dig into her financial dealings. Maxine Waters is the new chair of the House Financial Services Committee. She and many others will investigate Trump taxes and business dealings. I believe, and I said this before, Trump and the Patriots are setting these people up by withholding the taxes. He wants them to investigate, so this can be used against them later on. Let's move on to post 2700. POTUS. This can never be allowed to happen again in our country or to another president. How do you deter and prevent this from happening again? Simply by terminating employment of those responsible, simply by conducting a few non-threatening investigations, or by prosecuting those responsible to the full extent of the law, setting up new checks and balances and oversight designed to increase transparency, provide OIG offices with funding, size, and authority, provide select committees with access and in-house viewing of non-national security classification materials, provide a check on directors, department directors, assistant directors of all such ABC agencies, establish financial checks reviews of those in senior critical positions, audits, and direct family close proximity. Transparency and prosecution is the only way forward to save our republic and safeguard such criminal and treasonous acts from occurring again. While some want to quietly remove those responsible and go about our business, save face on the world stage, those in control understand this band-aid will simply not work. Nobody should be above the law, no matter how massive the spider web is. This will never happen again. Truth works, facts matter. Q. So what Q is saying is that the president is not just arresting people, but making major changes so people cannot take advantage again. Take advantage of the system. He will need to create checks and balances and get rid of the source of the problem. And most likely, the source of the problem is the Federal Reserve. So you can see this is where they're moving. They're moving towards getting rid of and removing the source of all these problems, and then installing checks and balances. Post 2701. And Anand put up a tweet by Trump. It says, "Beautiful evening in El Paso, Texas last night. God bless the USA." Down below it says, POTUS tweet nearly simultaneously, 11:35 Eastern Standard Time. Q wrote, "Devices in the same location with the same military encrypt, with the same service, yet hitting send spreads an unusual gap, even accounting for pick, non-pick transmit. Sometimes we get a hit, sometimes we don't." And Q says, "We are past that now, correct?" So Q is asking, do we really need these Q proofs? Aren't we past this already? Let's move on to post 2702. And Anand put up the post and the same exact tweet and said, 1 minute time delta, Q posted first, yet another Q proof. And under it says, yet another Q proof, nice work team. Q says, maybe one day we'll hit 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Many 0 hours, 0 minutes, but not many 0 seconds. But that doesn't cut it for Anand's. So Q is saying that they're going to keep trying until they have all zeros across the board to show that they're doing it exactly at the same time, which is mathematically impossible. Post 2703. And Anand said, we are past that now, correct? Q, way past this now. People who still need proofs will never get it. Q says mathematically impossible. Those who challenge have an agenda or are simply still asleep. The narrative has them, or you could say the matrix still has them. Q. So right now you can see that Q, Trump, the Patriots, they have set everything up, put everything into place to go after all these individuals. They're removing their protection, and they're making it possible to move forward with prosecutions. I mean, we're looking at a countdown here, people. Q has told us about a countdown. 3, 2, 1, boom. And this is going to happen very soon. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.